Hello friends, welcome to PRATHAM Test Prep. I'm Ashish Bhargav and welcome to another episode of daily news analysis that we do from Monday to Friday. So in this newspaper analysis we discuss about all the important events. Majorly we discuss about The Hindu and Indian Express because the two major newspaper, most of the current affairs questions that will be asked in your exam is from the two prominent newspaper. What exactly we discuss in newspaper analysis? We discuss about national news, international news, economy based news, sports based news, science and tech, personal news, summation conference and miscellaneous. And apart from that we also discuss about Supreme Court verdict, which is very important, especially for the students who are preparing for the law entrance exam. And one more thing that we can say that the questions that is law entrance exam, like any Supreme Court amendments, any bill that we will it is very important for the especially for the students who are preparing for the law entrance exam. And we also discuss about the state initiative, which is very important, science and tech, personal news, summits and conference and miscellaneous. So here is quote of the day. So if your voice is high, only a few people will hear. If your thought is high, then many people will listen. And to inculcate this thought process, what exactly we need to do? We have to think about, we have to develop the temperament to read the newspaper. Every day may not be good, but there is something good in every day. And here is study hard, no matter if it seems impossible, no matter if it takes time, no matter if you have to up all night. Just remember that the feeling of success is the best thing in the entire world. And we have taken initiative questions of the day. So at the end of the YouTube session, we'll ask you 5 questions that gives you the immense idea that what kind of questions that can be framed in your examination. Here is the very first article is talking about the village by the border. So here is the vibrant village program. This is, you need to understand is what exactly this vibrant village program. So vibrant village program, which is a VVP, that which is basically aims to strengthen and enhance basic infrastructure in the village along with LAC. So basically the border area village along with LAC, which is called line of actual control. So the migration can be stemmed. Border and village are being provided with all basic amenities, including modern housing and good roads, water, electric supply, good education, health and communication facilities. So this initiative basically that will soon transform our border village neighboring like China, Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Myanmar, and address the problem of migration. So a total of 2,962 border village in 5 states will be developed under this scheme. And the scheme will also develop growth centers on the hub and spoke model through the promotion of social entrepreneurship, empowerment of youth and women through skill development and entrepreneurship, and leverage the tourism potential through the promotion of local culture and traditional knowledge. It will also develop sustainable eco agribusiness through the one village one support concept. So that this one is the one village one product concept. So if you go to the background story of this one, तो क्या हुआ था in 2018 the Parliamentary Standing Committee pointed towards illiteracy, backwardness and lack of basic facilities in our border areas, and the Vibrant Village program is an important and commendable initiative that will address all these issues. So now under the, we can see Prime Minister leadership, our border areas are going to be social and economic transformation. This will not only make our borders safe and secure, but it will also bring remote and border village into the national mainstream. So only the things you need to keep in mind is vibrant village program. Now here is the next article talking about friends and partners. So India and Italy are deepening ties, acting together on global issues. So on the 75th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Italy and India, the summit on March 2nd of this year between Italian Prime Minister, which is known to be which is the name is need to be remembered, because जहाँ भी there is a two country summits and bilateral trilateral relationship is concerned, that sense you need to keep in mind that what is the name of this one, right? So Georgia Meloni and Indian Prime Minister Modi marked a turning point of the relation between our two countries. So if you talk about in recent years, जो Italy और India का relation है, have already intensified their collaborations, bringing bilateral trade on record figure of around 15 billion euro in 2022. That is doubling the figure record in 2020. Just in 2020, a 5-year action plan has been adopted with a well-defined range of priorities: energy transition, food processing, advanced manufacturing, and the creative industry and infrastructure of various kind. And recent years में Italy has joined all the multilateral initiative, जिसमें एक नाम हमारा IORA. So IORA having a trilateral relations initiative that is to be done by the India, Italy. So IORA, which means we can say Indian Ocean Rim Association. It is called Indian Ocean Rim Association. Indian Ocean Rim Association, that is called IORA. IORA, right? And we can say one is CDRI. So CDRI, which means Coalition of Disaster Relief Infrastructure to the International Solar Alliance. So the joint declaration approved by last summit affirms the commitment of the two governments to develop a strategic partnership that will also focus on sectors such as defense, cybersecurity, space and energy. And the enhancement of our relationship is part of a common vision for an Indo-Pacific based on respect of international law, freedom of navigation and territorial integrity. Or finally, Italy intends to offer full support to the Indian presidency of the G20. That is one of the ways it will do so is by contributing around the issue that were at the center of Italy G20 presidency in 2021. Now we have to think about the next article, which is towards e-justice. So as we know that as per the National Crime Record Bureau, which is called NCRB data, that there is a, we can say, crime and criminal tracking network system, CCTNA. So CCTNS, which is called, we need to understand the full form, that is called CCTNS, which is a crime and criminal tracking network. Crime and criminal tracking network system. So we have to think about like the CCTNS feed into the interoperable criminal justice system, which is called ICJS. If you talk about the e-court, so that is called transforming justice delivered by ICT. Here is the word is used NIC. So NIC, which means that National Informatics Center. NIC, which means National Informatics Center. That is called NIC. So the CCTNS hai, that is feed into the interoperable criminal justice system ICJS. The latter converts e-courts, e-prison, forensic and prosecution, leveraging technology to make criminal justice delivery more efficient. So other than national database of crime and criminals, CCTNS connects police station and charge sheet. In a broader sense, this is about better e-governance. So basically in that case, we can say if a crime is committed, this requires investigation, FIR, charge sheet, prosecution, and we can say the ceaseful conviction of these of last two of ICJs. So जैसे हम बात करें टैक्स के पर्पस के लिए, so India is now one country or will be one of all direct taxes become part of GST. उसमें the criminal justice system should also be a standardized, harmonized and integrated after all our citizen should be entitled to the same level of law and order regardless of residence. And we can say Ministry of Home Affairs does not annually making the police station based on the objective data of 80% of and survey based on assessment. So this is mandatory. And one more thing that we need to understand is Aadhaar card, that is cannot be mandatory, since being a prisoner cannot be interrupted being a recipient of government welfare benefits. Now this news that we had also discussed in the last day newspaper analysis, that is banks that are too big to fail. Recently there was a news and controversy also about the Silicon Valley Bank. So what was the major reason of failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank in USA that have raised questions about the safety of deposits? And such failures, which is unlikely in the Indian system, and Reserve Bank of India is हमारे country की है, that has classified that is कि आपका State Bank of India, ICICI Bank और HDFC Bank, these banks have to earmark additional capital and provision to safeguard operations. And we have discussed many times about what was the major reason for to failure of Silicon Valley Bank. So decade and a half of Indian banks remain unaffected by the failure of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank in the US last week. So what is the basis for the confidence in the resilience of Indian banks? So we need to think about jo reason why Silicon Valley Bank is failure is unlikely in India is domestic banks. They have a different balance sheet structure in India. So we do not have any system where deposits are withdrawn in such bulk quantities, right? So large chunks of Indian deposits is with public sector banks, and most of the rest is with very strong private sector lenders such as SDFC, ICICI, Axis Bank customers. So we not need to worry about their savings, right? So RBI ने इसके ऊपर ये बताया कि in India the approach of the regulator has generally been the depositor money should be protected at any cost, because as we know that there is a term that is CRR, cash reserve ratio, and SLRs. There are two terms because CRR or SLR is mandatory bank to keep with the one is with the RBI, one with the bank itself. So that's why we will save the customer money as well. That as we can say this cash reserve ratio and statutory liquidity ratio. So which bank has classified at DSB? RBI ने classified किया like SBI, ICICI and HDFC Bank are DSB bank, और additionally common जो इसका tier 1 के जो banks हैं that has इसमें Basel Convention है, इसमें Switzerland's best financial stability report है FSB. और how does RBI select DSB, deposit saving banks? Because the RBI follow two-step process to access the system important of bankers. Pehla, a sample of banks for accessed for, and second one, banks are selected for a computation of systematic importance based on analysis of their size, third leverage like GDP ratio. So what is the need to take these precautions? So if you talk about our Indian economy, the failure of large banks anywhere can have a contagion effect around the world, and these impairment of failure of a bank will likely cause greater damage to the domestic real economy, and its activity constitute a significantly largely share of domestic banking activities, right? Chalo. So now we go to the next article, which is called Researchers Find Plastic Rocks on Island of Brazil. So rocks made of plastic debris have been discovered on the volcanic Tirande island of Brazil, a remote turtle. So इसमें जो melted plastic has been intertwined with rocks on the island of 1140 किलोमीटर. तो इसमें जो टीम थी उसने फाइंड आउट किया, जो केमिकल टेस्ट से फाइंड आउट किया, जो काइंड ऑफ प्लास्टिक्स आर इन द रॉक्स आर कॉल्ड प्लास्टिकोमेटर्स, because they are made of mixture of sedimentary granules and other debris held together by the plastics. So the pollution that is comes from fishing nets, which is very common debris on Trinidad Islands beaches, और इसके वजह से as we know that the microplastics से भी बहुत सारे नुकसान होते हैं जो हमारे aquatic ecosystem को, right? Now Savaya Robotics developed first indigenous quadruped robot exoskeleton in India. So robot जो है वो 25 kg तक की payload को carry कर सकता है and walk along with the soldiers, and added that these robots can be used in nuclear plants and other industries as well. As a part of Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, Hyderabad based Savia Robotics ने develop किया इंडिया का first indigenous robot that is called exoskeleton in India. So ये जो हमारा है exoskeleton, which is basically किसने किया? Because Savia Robotics. The name should be remember, India first indigenous robot that has to be done by the Savia Robotics. Savia Robotics. And this Savia Robotics has to be done by the Hyderabad based company that is known to be a Savia Robotics. So we have to think more about this one. As we can see, this robot can carry a 25 kg of weight. 25 kg of weight. And this one, India first indigenous quadruple robot and exoskeleton. The indigenous robot are wearable exoskeleton were developed by Hyderabad based Savia Robotics in collaboration with the DRDO labs, Research and Development Establishment, Pune, and Defense Bioengineering and Electromedical Laboratory DBL Bangalore, because your technologies have demonstrated here with their design inputs, and both are dual use robots and have multiple use cases in both industry and healthcare. बात करें इसमें तो 4-legged robots होते हैं that can walk or run even the rough terrain, and the robot can carry a 25 kg, and it is developed by the Suit Indian soldiers, that is called anthropometry, and augmented soldiers, that is strength for the walking long distance. Now the next article is talking about export falls 8.8%, trade deficit shrink over 7%. So tentatively अगर हम देखें इसमें तो जो ग्लोबल डिमांड है पुल इन इंडिया गुड एक्सपोर्ट डाउन बाय 8.8% इन फरवरी. अगर हमारा एक्सपोर्ट परसेंट देखें तो वो दैट वाज 37.5%. तो ट्रेड डेफिसिट क्यों है इसका? व्हाट इज द मेजर रीजन फॉर दैट? सो बिकॉज आउटबाउंड शिपमेंट्स वैल्यू ड्रॉट फॉर एज मेनी एज 16 of India's top 30 exported item in February, and this is the third time in 5 months the merchandise export have contract gold import surge. Import की बात करें तो हम import हमारा देखो कभी भी अगर current account deficit होती है that is called CAD, it's called current account deficit. ये current account deficit क्यों होती है? Because of the high import and less export. So tentatively global demand pull in India's good export down by 8.8% in February to $33.9 billion, right? और जो outbound shipments होती value dropped for as many as 60 of India's top 30 ports in February. So the merchandise trade deficit during February 2023 that is fell by 7%. जो oil export है, while both oil and non-oil exports contracted, oil exports that is sharply by 28.8%. Next one, House panel question, huge cut in outlay of MG Narega, महात्मा गांधी नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉय गारंटी स्कीम. इसमें क्या हुआ है कि इसमें पहले इसके फुल फॉर्म याद रखो, महात्मा गांधी नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेशन स्कीम दैट इज कॉल्ड MG नरेगा. इसमें फंड नहीं है वर्कर्स को देने के लिए, ठीक है, बिकॉज मेनी स्टेट आर फेल टू डू सो. सो इसमें आपको ये चीज़ समझनी है कि व्हाट इज द डेप्थ ऑफ फंड्स इन MG नरेगा. So because Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, earlier known as National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that was passed in 2005 to augmented employment generation and social security. So जितने भी adult members हैं किसी भी घर के in rural areas, not should be for urban areas, with a job card is eligible for a job under the scheme. And the scheme envisages providing 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year to adult member volunteers for unskilled manual work, and it covers all districts of India except the one with 100% urban population. So there is also provision for the 50 days of unskilled wage employment in drought sorry, जो ड्रॉट एरियाज हैं वहाँ पे जहाँ पर नेचुरल कैलेमिटीज़ है वहाँ पे आपको 50 डेज़ की अनस्किल्ड वेज एम्प्लॉयमेंट देनी होती है. सो जो सेक्शन 3 क्लॉज 4 है MG का, द स्टेट में मेक प्रोविजन फॉर प्रोवाइडिंग एडिशनल डेज बियॉन्ड द पीरियड गारंटेड अंडर द एक्ट ऑफ देयर ओन फंड्स. नेक्स्ट हम बात करते हैं इसमें लाइक 2 years टू शिफ्ट टू अ न्यू मिनिमम एज ऑफ मैरिज. जो इंडियन पीनल कोड है IPC इसमें इनैक्ट किया 1860, दैट इज क्रिमिनलाइज सेक्सुअल इंटरकोर्स विद अ गर्ल बिलो द एज ऑफ 10, एंड द प्रोविजन ऑफ रेप वाज अमेंडेड 1927 थ्रू द एज ऑफ कंसेंट बिल 1927, जिसमें कि डिक्लेयर किया गया मैरिज विद अ गर्ल अंडर 12 years वुड बी इनवैलिड. मतलब 12 years अगर 13 years की फीमेल है दैट वी कैन गेट मैरिड इन दैट टाइम, जहाँ पे इंडियन पीनल कोड 1860 को अमेंड किया गया. बाद में क्या हुआ, 1929 में चाइल्ड मैरिज रिसेंट एक्ट पास किया गया, जहाँ पे 16 और 18 years एज फॉर द मिनिमम एज फॉर द मैरिज ऑफ गर्ल्स शुड बी 16 years एंड बॉय शुड बी 18 years. एंड दिस लॉ प्रॉपरली नोन एज शारदा एक्ट. शारदा एक्ट में आफ्टर इट स्पॉन्सर्स हरिबाला सरदा, जो एक जज थे, ए मेंबर ऑफ आर्य समाज, वॉज इवेंचुअली अमेंडेड इन 1978, जहाँ पर कि इस एक्ट में अमेंड किया गया 1978 में, एंड प्रिस्क्राइब्ड 18 years फॉर द फीमेल एंड 21 years एज द एज ऑफ मैरिज ऑफ वुमेन एंड मैन रिस्पेक्टिवली. सो बाद में इसको फिर से अमेंड करने की बात थी. प्रेजेंट एज क्या है मैरिज की? स्पेशल मैरिज एक्ट 1954, जहाँ पे प्रोहिबिशन ऑफ चाइल्ड मैरिज एक्ट 2006 जो प्रिस्क्राइब करता है 18 to 21 years ऑफ मिनिमम एज ऑफ कंसेंट, बट इसको फिर बाद में अमेंड किया गया. हिंदू मैरिज एक्ट 1955, जहाँ पे 18 years मिनिमम एज फॉर द ब्राइड एंड 21 years एज मिनिमम एज फॉर द ग्रूम. क्योंकि चाइल्ड मैरिज है आर नॉट इलीगल इवन दो दे कैन बी डिक्लेयर वॉइड एट द रिक्वेस्ट ऑफ माइनर इन द मैरिज. इस्लाम में क्या है, मैरिज ऑफ ए माइनर हु इज अटेन प्यूबर्टी इज कंसिडर्ड वैलिड. मतलब एनी गर्ल हु इज अटेन प्यूबर्टी एट द एज ऑफ 13 or 14 दैट कैन मैरी टू ईच अदर. Additionally, जो sexual intercourse with a minor is rape and the consent of minor is regarded as invalid since she is deemed incapable of giving consent at the age. तो ये सारे जो शारदा एक्ट था जिसमें कि सबसे पहले टाइम आपको बताया गया कि 18 years फॉर द फीमेल एंड 21 years फॉर द मेल. ये जो बिल है नाउ विद द पार्लियामेंट्री स्टैंडिंग कमेटी ने envision some minimum age of marriage for the women and men. It has provision to make consequential amendments relating age of marriage in the Indian Christian Marriage Act 1872, Parsi Marriage and Divorce Act 1936 and the Muslim Personal Law Shariat, जिसे हम कहते हैं शरियात. मुस्लिम पर्सनल लॉ जो हमारा शरियात है. एंड वी कैन सी द फॉरेन मैरिज एक्ट 1969, वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड डेवलपमेंट मिनिस्ट्री ने इसको राज्यसभा में, अभी तक कोई इसमें आउटपुट जब तक नहीं है, दैट वी विल नॉट डिस्कस मच इन डिटेल. Now it's time to questions of the day. Here is the very first question. Which one of the following has been announced the Women Icon Leading Swachhta Award 2023 on the eve of International Women's Day? The answer will be here, Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs. So to highlight the impact of women in sanitation and waste management, the Union Ministry for Housing and Urban Affairs announced the Women Icon Leading Swachhta Award 2023 on the eve of International Women's Day. It aims to recognize, celebrate and disseminate inspiring and exemplary initiative in urban sanitation and waste management by women-led organization and individual women. And it aims to make a transformation shift from women in Swachhta to women-led Swachhta. Moving to the next question. Doha political declaration was in news recently is associated with outer space governance, countering terrorist financing, global monetary policy, sustainable development goals, which is called SDG. So the answer will be here, option D. 5th United Nations Conference on the Least Developed Countries, which is called LDC, concluded with the adoption of Doha Political Declaration by world leaders, with just under 8 years left to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. The declaration focuses on implementing the Doha Program of Action (DPOA), a 10-year plan to put the world's 46 most vulnerable countries back on track to achieving the unmandated Sustainable Development Goals. And DPOA consists of 6 key focuses area, including eradicating poverty, leveraging, and we can say potential of science and technology, fight against multidimensional vulnerabilities, and to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Next one, in which one of the following groups are all the 4 countries members of OPEC plus group, which is known to be a OPEC and OPEC plus. We have discussed many times: Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Afghanistan, Russia. OPEC, which means oil producing export countries, is called OPEC. So option would be A, because Russia is not a part of OPEC countries. So what is OPEC plus? So OPEC plus refers to alliance of crude producers who have been undertaking correction in supply of oil markets since 2017. So OPEC plus countries include Azerbaijan, Bahrain, Brunei, Kazakhstan, Malaysia, Mexico, Oman, Russia, South Sudan and Sudan. OPEC क्या है हमारा? The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries. इसको फाउंड किया गया था बगदाद, which is the capital of Iraq, with the signing of the agreement in September 1960 by 5 countries, namely Islamic Republic of Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. So they were to become the founder members of the organization. And OPEC एक permanent intergovernmental organization है. And OPEC objective is to coordinate and unify petroleum policies among member countries in order to secure fair and stable prices for petroleum producers, an efficient economic and regular supply of petroleum to consuming nations, and a fair return on capital to those investing in the industries. इसके headquarters कहाँ पे है? वियना में है, ऑस्ट्रिया. And if you talk about OPEC membership is open to any country that is substantial exporter of oil and which shares the ideals of the organization. Next one, CO2 emissions in 2022 report is published by IUCN, IEA, OECD and UNEP. So here is answer is B. According to IEA CO2 emission 2022 report, global energy related carbon dioxide emission rose by under 1% in 2022. And here is the last question. Sendai framework is related to banning of chemical weapons, regulate international trade in conventional weapons, limiting the spread of nuclear weapons, and none of the above. So this one is the answer is D. The Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction 2015-2030 is an international document that was adopted by United Nations member states between 14 to 18 March 2015 at the World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction held in Sendai, Japan. So this is all about the session, dear student, and I hope you enjoyed the session a lot. If you have any questions regarding this session, please let me know in the comment section. And if you are new in this channel, please subscribe the channel as well. And do not forget to press the bell icon so you will get the notification of all our Pratham Test Prep mentors. Thank you so much for joining with us. Stay tuned. We'll meet you on Monday for the daily newspaper analysis. Till then, bye-bye and take care.